This is the second instructional video for the Model My Watershed application. This time we'll be looking at the Show My Watershed application. On the model page, go down to Launch Application under Show My Watershed. This will take you to a screen that will ask you for a username and password, which you can receive by contacting Susan Gill at sgill@stroudcenter.org. We don't have a login right now, so we're going to start as a guest. Once the application comes up, you'll notice that it looks a lot like something you've probably seen before, which is Google Maps, and that's because, in fact, we use a Google Map base. Now, if you go out, probably not as far as this, any place where there is blue, you will see that's where the application is active. You can use these buttons to provide navigation through the website. This circle here, you can go east or west, north or south, and here you can zoom in or zoom out. You have options when it comes to the map base. So if you click on here, you can either use the street map, which is what's there now. You can change to a terrain map, or you can use my favorite, which is the satellite image, because then you can actually see what goes on underneath. You also can go up here and look at overlays, and as we go through, you'll see that overlays come up here. A third option are the geographies map, which means you can put county boundaries, municipal boundaries, zip codes, school districts, and many other things. You can toggle those on and off. We're going to start with the land cover database and the overlays. In this left-hand cigar shape image here, that is a menu, there are several things you can do. You can either search for an address. Be careful about this because sometimes it will take you to Europe or some other area, so be very specific. You can also identify hydrologic units. Those are defined by the United States Geological Survey. We can do basins, and in here there are 4 basins. This is the Schuylkill Basin. This is a portion of the Delaware that's within the study area. This is the Christina Basin, and this is a portion of the Chesapeake, which is the Conestoga Creek. You can also make smaller units, either watersheds, which are again defined by the USGS, or sub-watersheds. So you can do any number of these. Some of these are much finer, obviously. I'm going to go back to the watershed designation, and I'm going to look at this area here, which is part of the Schuylkill. When I click on that, you'll notice that there are colors that come up, and those colors are the land cover types. So you can take a look here, and it will show you how many square kilometers are in that particular type and what percentage of the coverage that is. Okay. You can make this overlay more transparent or completely opaque, depending on what your desire is. You can also zoom in to the area so that you can see this in more detail. You can also move the map in order to do this. So again, you can make it completely opaque, or you can actually make it disappear. Once you've defined a watershed to look at, the boundary will come up in yellow. And once you've defined an area, you can start simulation. Starting the simulation tells you, again, what the water balance is, similar to the generic model, under certain rainfall conditions. 2-inch rainstorm, 3.2, and 8. Again, it divides the amount of rain into evapotranspiration, runoff, and infiltration. The right-hand column is what the hydrology is under current conditions. The left-hand column is what the hydrology was in pre-Columbian times, based on the soil type and the slope. So if we look at various watersheds, we'll see that the amount of runoff is quite different depending. I'm also going to look at some of the sub-watersheds, and this watershed here is particularly good about infiltrating most of the rain that comes in. Whereas if we move down to Philadelphia, which has tremendous amounts of impervious surface, you will see that there's a very, very large difference between that and an area that's wooded. Many of these areas in between have, as you would expect, in between types of hydrology, and the amount of runoff will vary. You can also select what we call a flow point. So if you take this flow point arrow and you put it on the map, what will happen is it will define an area. This was rather random, and all of that area that drains through that point, you'll be able to figure out what the runoff in that area is. So if I look here and do the analysis, I can see that what the runoff is in a 2-inch rainstorm. If I move back out on the map, I'm going to try an area that is much more developed and see what our flow point looks like in an area like that. So I'm going to zoom in and see what that looks like. And you can see that there's a fair amount of runoff there compared to another place. I can also draw an area on the map, and I will do that right now. And I'm going to draw over part of this subdivision here. Make sure to close your area, which I just did. And again, the model comes up and tells you how much, what percentage of the rain is precipitation. Now, the next thing I would do would be then to go into the Modify My Watershed application. We will cover that in the next video.